Abigail is a figure that's subject to a lot of mystery. She was a centerpiece to the Salem witch trials, but we don't know too much more about her outside of what happened during these cases. At the time, Abigail was 12 years old, living with her uncle, Reverend Paris, his daughter Betty, and his 2 slaves. And since it seemed as if Abigail had spiraled out of practically nowhere, it's often speculated that she was an orphan that he took under his wing due to the death of her parents. The first incidents began when some girls tried to mess around with the supernatural Venus glass technique. The technique involved dropping egg whites into a glass of water, and whatever the egg whites took shape of would tell them about their future husbands. The girls went along with this foolery, and after seeing a coffin appear from the egg whites, Abigail and her cousin Betty started to experience strange pains across their entire body. They started to scream, throw stuff across the room, chant strange noises, crawl under the bed, contort their body into weird positions. You can imagine how crazy this sounds. Uncle Paris was on the case. About a month later, he called Dr. Griggs out to his crib to see if they could identify the problem. All right, Doc, hit me. How bad is it? Well, for starters, I'ma just say it seems like they're cursed. Curse? What do you mean? What kind of curse? What do you think we should do about it? I mean, I don't know what you're gonna do about it, but I'm about to hit the road. Good luck. Wait, you can't just leave. Watch me. The doctor explains that the girls have more than likely fallen under the bewitchment of the devil. The girls soon started their accusations by pointing out to 3 people that could be the reason that they were behaving this way. One of these alleged criminals being Paris's slave, Tsiah. Now, Paris didn't know this at the time, but his neighbor told Tsiah and her husband that they should bake a witch cake. This meant that they needed to mix the urine of the children that were afflicted with rye and ashes, bake it, then feed it to a dog to see how it reacts. If the dog starts to act a little strange, then the girls are telling the truth. If not, then there must be something else going on. Paris was already under fire from the community, who no longer wanted to pay out his wages for being a reverend. When he found out that Tsiah made that witch cake, he was furious. He can't have anything else going on in his household while he's already at odds with the village, so he decides to beat the confession out of Tsiah, whether she was the one that truly bewitched the girls or not. On top of that, with Tsiah being of Latin or African descent, Salem really didn't fuck with Tsiah like that to begin with. They were waiting for her to mess up. So upon Tsiah admitting to the fact that she was a witch, there was an uproar from the community, kicking off the start of the Salem witch trials. At this point, Abigail started accusing everybody, with over 200 people accused, 19 of which being executed at the gallows, and one man having his entire body crushed under a block of stone. You even had people dying just waiting to be judged because the conditions in the cells were that bad. And with people being accused in the village left and right, this created a mass amount of hysteria among their people, to the point where you really couldn't trust anybody. Eventually, the ministers from their community went up against these trials, saying that it would be better if 10 witches got away as opposed to one person dying for no reason at all. Once the witch trials were over, Paris lost his position as reverend due to his involvement with Abigail and left the village altogether, something he was afraid of the entire time. The location of Abigail after the trials are unknown. Her gravesite is unknown, and it's often said that Paris got rid of her to protect himself. This is all just a small piece to the bigger puzzle. In grand order, Abigail was never raised by Uncle Paris. In his place, she was nurtured by Rom. one of the demon pillars that went rogue against Goetia's plan for salvation. During the game, the Salem that she was raised in isn't the real Salem, but a specific Salem combined with an array of people from the village over different periods of time. This is why you see people like Matthew Hawkins, who showed up despite him dying before Abigail's supposed birth. We also find out that Abigail is a pseudo-servant created by Rom as well. Now, if you've played Hollow Ataraxia, you should already be familiar with the concept, but the events that took place in this fake Salem were in a temporal loop, which means that every couple of days, the circumstances that took place in the village kept starting over until Abigail was apt enough for Rom to acquire what he really wanted. His main goal being to bring in an alien from outside of our universe, Tsiah. This alien is also described to be the same being from H.P. Lovecraft's Cthulhu mythos. With Abigail being in the foreigner class, she was able to consume the madness and live to tell about it, making her the most fit candidate for the job. Rom was aware of this, and in a ritual-like fashion, he pushed a number of sins committed by the village onto Abigail, since her entire being was meant to be a representation of the wishes of the masses, which means that she had to take on those sins. By the sixth sin, her inverse companion, Lavanya, had been killed. There was no reason for Abigail to hold on to her humanity any longer. She became the key to the outside universe, and the gateway to our world opened up via the keyhole in her forehead. Preying on Abigail's sins, Tsiah's eye started to form through this gateway, along with his tentacles coming out of the side of her body. And while she did still have some control, this was just enough access for Rom to carry out the rest of his plan. To continue Goetia's mission through brute force of pain against all sinners, since there's no man on this earth that hasn't sinned. This gives Tsiah the free reign to destroy everybody. Luckily for us, Sheba and Cersei were able to suppress this being from completely taking over and put an end to all of the madness. That about wraps it up. I don't want to dump off too much information right here because there are more foreigners and there are more things concerning Abigail's ties to the Cthulhu mythos, including things such as the true identity of Randolph Carter. Like the video so we can get this trending. Let me know what you guys think, and follow me on Twitter at SiahIV for updates on the content. It is your boy Tsiah. I'm out.
Looking at popular colored faces, observing what my brothers faces in all races, lost to generations of all hatred. See what your eyes dilated for the sake of the G's, but keep it sacred, G. Fuck a rat race, we take the cheese. Jack cheddar from the make-believe.